Hello everyone, myself Venu, lecturer in mechanical engineering working at Government Polytechnic Varangal. And today's topic is fundamentals of refrigeration and basic concepts on refrigeration. And if you observe in my previous video lesson, we have studied some basic concepts like basic fundamentals on refrigeration, like the definition and meaning of refrigeration, the history of refrigeration, and some we have listed out the different methods of refrigeration. And in the methods of refrigeration we have seen completed the direct ice refrigeration and dry ice refrigeration explanation. And in today's class we will see after completion of the topic, I think you're able to know the some principles regarding or whatever the left out topics on the methods of refrigeration. So we can conclude that uh, here the topics like steam jet refrigeration, liquid nitrogen refrigeration, and we'll see some applications of refrigeration. Next, the definition and unit of refrigeration is how we can define that, and what is a COP, coefficient of performance. And we'll try to solve one two problems, small problems will be there. And regarding that methods of refrigeration, we left out whatever the topics are there, like vapor compression refrigeration system and the vapor absorption refrigeration system. We will discuss in the further topics, and today we will deal all these things. I hope you will understood, and we will fulfill these objectives. And let us start with the steam jet refrigeration system, how the cooling effect will get with the help of that. So here some silent points, you can note it down, and I will explain with the help of a neat diagram. So coming to the principle, here the name indicates the steam jet refrigeration. So here we are using the steam jet principle. Uh, with the help of the steam jet, the pressure variation is taking place, the variation of pressure on the surface of the water. How the what happens when the pressure variation is taking place on the surface of water, and how the boiling point of a water can be changed. So we can see in this steam jet refrigeration, and how we can get the cooling effect with the help of these principle. Let us go with a simple example, like you know that uh, if you take the water, if you boil the water, generally it will boils at 100 degrees centigrade when it is placed at some atmospheric pressure. And the thing is, when on the surface of the water, if you reduce the pressure, what happens? Instead of the atmospheric pressure, if you are reducing the pressure, the variation of pressure is taking place, the boiling point of water is also reduces. So depending on its pressure, if you are if further the pressure is decreasing on the surface of the water, the boiling point of water will also decreases. So due to that, it means, for example, if you take at 6.5 centimeters, or if you are reducing the pressure, what happens to the boiling point? Generally, it reduces to like some 10 to 15 degrees centigrade. The water will get the boil. So here, don't take assumption like boiling of water means not only the heating. Here, what happens here, due to its pressure reduction, to further like 6.5 centimeters of water or 5 centimeters of water, what happens to the boiling point of water? It further reduces to some, it means it will boil at 10 degrees, or it will boil at 6 degrees centigrade only, instead of boiling at 100 degrees centigrade, which is at atmospheric pressure. Reducing the pressure further, it will or you take example of, if you are reducing the pressure to 500 hg of pressure, 500 hg of mercury of pressure, then it will boils, instead of boiling at 100 degrees centigrade, it will boils at 60 degrees centigrade only. What happens here, at the surface, uh, it will the evaporation of boiling, in the sense the evaporation or heat is getting extracted from the remaining water which is present below the surface of the water. So it means it is due to the reduction of the pressure on the surface of water, whatever the heat present inside the water below the surface of the water, that temperature is extracted from the water. So due to that, what happens, the evaporation will take place. It means the temperature which is present inside the water is getting reduced. Very low temperatures are created inside the water. So this is how we are producing the cooling effect. So just have look at the diagram. So you can take the point at 500 mm of Hg. So the boiling point is around 60 to 70 degrees only. Further, if you reduce the pressure on the water, so the boiling point may get decreased, or it may you can boil at 10 degrees or 5 degrees centigrade only. So here is some line diagram of steam jet refrigeration. Observe the components, what are the required to get the refrigeration effect by using this. Here we go by one. Here the steam is produced in the boiler. You can see the boiler part here. Steam can be produced, and through the boiler, uh, whenever the steam is generated here, it's sent through the pipe with the help of some nozzle. Here there is a pipe, and steam jet along with the ejector is placed here. We will see what is the importance of that. First we will see the components, ejector, and to this ejector, at the see at one component, at one end is connected to the flash chamber or evaporator. This blue color box which is there here, it is a flash chamber or evaporator. At the other end of the ejector, it is connected at the exit of the ejector, it is connected to the condenser. We'll see all the importance of the components. And next, other pipe to this flash chamber, you can see the end. Here at the top, you can see a pipe is connected to a space to be cooled. Okay, here we are cooling any components or products which are placed here. It is getting cooled here. And here you can see other end of this flash chamber, it is connected to the makeup water pipeline. Why? Because evaporation of water will take place. So every time you have to add some more water. It is nothing but the makeup water connection is given, and in between this space to be cooled chamber and this flash chamber, we are connecting a pump. Now we'll see how we are getting the cooling effect. So the first the principle here is, what you have to do, you have to reduce the pressure on the surface of the water, so which is present in the flash chamber. You can see the water is placed in the flash chamber. So on the surface of the water, you have to reduce the pressure. So that is achieved with the help of the steam jet. To here the steam is produced in the boiler, and here, and it is sent through the nozzle. So whenever it is sent through the nozzle along with the ejector, the a very high velocity stream is produced coming from the nozzle, and with the help of this ejector, very high velocity is produced. Due to the high velocity steam jet, which is due to this action, the gases which are present, the gases or vapors which are present on the surface of the water, it is absorbed by this high velocity steam which is coming from the steam jet, and which is moving in the ejector part. Due to that, the low pressures are created on the surface of the water which is present in the flash chamber. So due to that, evaporation will take place, or heat which is present inside the water, the heat is absorbed by the or it is removed in the form of vapors or gases, and those gases are removed with the help of the high velocity jet passing through the ejector. Due to this, low temperatures are created in the water. So this is the principle how you are getting the temperature is reduced in the water. So that decreased low temperature water is with the help of a pump. You can see at the bottom, with the help of a pump, pumping into the space to be cooled. So within with the circulation through the pipes, water which is entering with very low temperature will get circulated in the pipes, and what are the products placed inside that, they may get heat exchange. The products are giving out the heat to the water, and again the water is becoming like a warm water, and the products are getting cooled in the space to be cooled. So that warm water at the top of this cooling chamber, the warm water again it enters through the spray header. You can see in the flash chamber at the top there is a spray header. So warm water will again spray with the help of this spray header. Okay, and again the same water is collected in the flash chamber. Due to the continuous evaporation is taking place, we have to add, the water quantity is reduced, we have to add the makeup water into the flash chamber at every time. This is one thing. And next, at the exit of the ejector, if you observe, so whatever uh, high velocity steam along with that it is condensed back to the liquid again, and it means condensed back to the water, the whatever the steam is there condensed back to the water with the help of a condenser. The pipeline is connected to the condenser, so condensation will take place here, condensation process, and water is collected in the condenser and it is sent to the boiler. And here you can see the animation of the steam jet refrigeration. So after the boiler, whatever the water collected in the condenser, that hot water again it sent back to the boiler. How the steam is coming from the nozzle, and the water is coming to the spray headers. At the bottom you can see the water is pumping to the cold water is pumping to the space to be cooled. And next, in the condenser, we are using the heat exchanger, cold water through the pipe, and the heat exchange is taking place and steam is converting back to the, the condensation water. So here we can see some silent few points. Whatever the water is there, you have to reduce the water temperature which is to be filled in the flash chamber. Steam from the boiler ejected out high velocity through the nozzle as already discussed. And you can see the steam jet produces low pressures on the surface of the water in the flash chamber. So due to the high velocity jet which is coming from the steam jet, due to that low pressures are created on the surface of the water, and water is evaporated at low temperatures. So during evaporation, the water absorbs heat from the remaining water, causing it to cool. uh, Whatever the heat present inside the bottom of the water, complete heat is taken up, it gets evaporated, and due to the reduction of the heat, the water gets cooled, and again that water circulated through the space to be cooled. The cooled water absorbs heat from the space to be cooled, and the temperature of the space to be cooled is reduced, and the temperature of water increase and again sent through the spray headers. So water coming from the refrigerated space is sprayed back again to the flash chamber through the spray headers. So already all the discussed points, so you can read out the points here. Water loss due to evaporation in flash chamber will be compensated by supplying makeup water. A separate connection is provided here. The flash chamber is filled again with the help of the separate connection through the pipe. Next topic is next method of refrigeration, how to get uh, the cooling effect with the help of the gas. So here we are using the other method is liquid nitrogen refrigeration or some liquid carbon dioxide refrigeration. So whenever the gaseous forms, under normal condition, if you observe, the nitrogen is present in the form of a gaseous form. So in special cases, it means whenever it is reduced to low temperatures, that may be converted to the liquid state. So in the form of a liquid, the nitrogen in the form of a liquid is utilized to produce a cooling effect. We will see how what are the components used here to get the cooling effect. Here the main source is the liquid nitrogen, and the gases which we are using for cooling effect must and should be a non-toxic one. And here we are using the non-toxic liquid nitrogen as a refrigerant. The temperature obtained may be minus 10 to minus 20 degrees centigrade of a temperature can be obtained by using this refrigeration method. Here you can see a simple line diagram along with the animation. I think hope you understood. It can be understandable very easily. So whenever the transportation of some vegetables or some meat or some fruits so whatever some perishable products are there, so to transport from one place to other place and to store for some time. So we are using this method, liquid nitrogen refrigeration method. Within the compartment we can place all these things. If you observe the components here, so inside the container you can see there is a liquid nitrogen cylinder will be there, and along with that connection you can see a control valve is placed here. The liquid will control with the help of this control valve, which is coming from the liquid nitrogen cylinder, and that liquid will enter through the spray header. So whenever it enters through the spray header, it gets sprayed on the products which are placed in a some containers. So the products can be maintained at very low temperatures. It's a very simple one, and you'll see the point wise. So observe the liquid nitrogen cylinder. Must and should be it's a insulated cylinder. Neither it may added heat may not get added, or heat may not get rejected from the cylinder whenever it is getting insulated. So liquid gas will present inside the cylinder, and already discussed that quantity of flow can be controlled with the help of the control valve. And whenever uh, the liquid nitrogen is sprayed in the space, so the space will get cooled. So it is sprayed through the nozzles from through the spray header. So here the evaporation of nitrogen is very low. It means the temperature, evaporation temperature of nitrogen is very low. So whatever the liquid nitrogen evaporates, which is present here, it get evaporates by absorbing the heat from the products, or whatever the refrigerated space is there, whatever the heat present in the refrigerated space, that the temperature, uh, that high temperature, it is absorbed by the liquid nitrogen, and that liquid nitrogen will gets evaporated. So that evaporated nitrogen is sent to the surroundings or sent to the atmosphere, and the temperature, it maintains very low temperature inside the container at every time. So whenever the temperature is increased inside the container, so automatically the control valve will get opened, and the liquid nitrogen from the cylinder enters through the nozzle and through the spray header. It will spray on the container with the product containers. Whatever the products placed in the container, it will get, and again the further the temperature can be maintained for some more time. So you can see some. Next, moving on to the applications of refrigerator. This is about the liquid nitrogen refrigeration method. Okay, it's a very simple one and easy to understood. And coming to applications, so a lot of applications will be there regarding the refrigeration, and a number of fields we are using the refrigeration. So it is a in today's days it has become mandatory. So just like we'll see the one by one in like some, if you take in medicine field, if you take, so the to store or to preserve any drug or any medicine, we are using this refrigeration as in the form any refrigeration system like fridges or any other stored cooling compartments to store some medicinal or drug equipment. We are using this refrigeration, and also in just like to store the blood and human tissues like eyes or some other very important organs, to store for some period, compulsory the refrigeration is needed. So it is an application of the refrigeration. Just like to manufacture artificial ice, artificially to produce ice, refrigeration is also produced. Whenever it is maintained below 0 degrees centigrade by the help of refrigeration, so we can produce the ice with the help of the water. Similarly, like what we are seeing, the liquid nitrogen refrigeration system, and some we have seen some storing like a dry ice refrigeration system. Whenever to transport some food stuff, vegetables or some other thing, to transport from one place to other place, refrigeration is necessary. We have seen some methods also for that. And in textile industries and printing works, so for further processing purpose, we are using this refrigeration. And also it's used in photographic materials, and in dams also for like a concreter to cool the concrete. The very high temperatures is the heat is rejecting out from the concrete at the dam place. So for rapid cooling purpose we are using is the refrigeration, and also like a treatment of air for blast furnaces. Very high temperature of air is ejecting out from the blast furnaces for the reduction of the temperature of that. So we are using the refrigeration. And in chemical industries, and the very important thing we're using for rocket fuels also, the production of rocket fuels. Next, the function of rocket fuel. The fuel, whatever the rocket fuel is there nowadays, we're getting at very low temperatures. It can be maintained like minus centigrades. The fuel can be hold. And like you are using some computers or some CNC machines to to get to not get a hangout, we are using the computers continuously to run it continuously. The machines or whatever the so equipped automatic machines are there, to run them continuously, it will reject the heat to the surroundings, so that is absorbed. And then there also compulsory refrigeration is needed. Okay. And next, further the topics are there. So before that we'll see some basic concepts of refrigeration are there. So before that we'll see some terminology, some terminology regarding some heat, like sensible heat, latent heat, all this terminology we will learn. Next, we will see the basic concepts on refrigeration. Before that, learning the unit of refrigeration, the topic, and we will see some basic terms which you already know, like latent heat, sensible heat, total heat. So what are these terms? And just we refer or recall the terms again. First we will see the what is the latent heat. So according to the sentence, if you observe here, the amount of heat required per a unit mass of a substance for change of state at constant temperature. I think you have understood that sentence. It means if you considering one unit mass of a substance or any product which is containing unit mass, to change its phase from one form to other form, how much amount of heat is required? How much amount of heat is required to change its phase by that particular unit mass of a substance? The condition is at constant temperature. Generally it is denoted by capital L, and units are kilojoules per kg. And here three terms can be explained regarding the latent heat, where the changes of different forms or different phase changing transformations. Latent heat representing the change of its phase by maintaining the constant temperature. Regarding this, we will see the three different terms: latent heat of evaporation, and second one is latent heat of condensation, and third one is latent heat of fusion. So coming to the first one, latent heat of evaporation. So it is the heat required for change of state from liquid to gaseous form without change in the temperature, so that it determines the terminology latent heat of evaporation. Yeah, in the itself in the term it has evaporation, means the changing from liquid to vapor form. So how much heat is required for that without change in the temperature? Only phase change will take place here. Coming to the second one, the latent heat of condensation. Condense means changing its phase from vapor to liquid. That is the condensation process. So during this process, vapor has to reject the heat to any other medium or to the surrounding. During that case, maintaining constant temperature and rejecting its heat from the vapor to change its state from vapor to liquid. So that is called latent heat of condensation process. The next third one is latent heat of fusion. Consider any solid state particle where its phase is changed from solid to liquid. Again the same condition, how much heat is required to change its phase from solid state to the liquid state. Condition is at constant temperature. Changing of, you can consider the common term in this, temperature is maintaining, there is no change in temperature and phase change is taking place, so that it determines the latent heat in a different forms like evaporation, condensation and fusion. And coming to the sensible heat, very simple, completely you can find the difference between the latent heat and sensible heat. So here what we are doing, when heat is added, what happens generally, if you the temperature may get rises whenever the heat is rejected, or whenever the heat is removed, the temperature gets decreases. Okay, so the change, whenever the heat is adding, the change in the temperature rises, and this heat can be called as a sensible heat. Similarly, you can take vice versa of that. When heat is removed from the substances, the temperature falls, and thus heat is also considered as sensible heat. And point you have to remember that there is no change in phase has to be taken place. Only the temperature is increasing and decreasing whenever the heat is adding and removing. And here, coming to the definition part, sensible heat, so it is the heat which causes a change in temperature in a substance without change of a state. I think I find the difference between latent heat and sensible heat. And here the mathematical form can be written as sensible heat equals to mCp delta T. So m is the mass of that particular substance, mCp is specific heat of that particle, and change in temperature is determined as delta T. Okay, and the final terminology is total heat. So the sum of both the sensible heat and latent heat can be taken as a total heat. Right. Next, just few more discussion regarding to understand what is a refrigerator. Right. Just we go through the some few things, that is what is a heat pump, and next we will differ from the heat pump what is the function of a refrigerator. Okay, let us see these two things. Heat pump, so from this diagram you can see here there is a source which is maintaining the temperature T1, and a heat pump is provided at the center, and you can see the sink at the bottom maintaining the temperature T2. And here the work is done on the heat pump, external work is done on the heat pump. And here the terminology is there, so I will explain this terminology, what is N and what is W and what is H. Next, here the first thing, what is the heat function of the heat pump. So it is receiving the heat from the sink at a lower temperature, which is considered as the T2, lower temperature, and the heat pump is a pump extracting the heat from the sink, and it is supplying to the high temperature region which is at the source. The high temperature is a T1. It is supplying with the help of the work with the help of heat pump, where the work is supplied to the heat pump here, W. And the primary purpose of the heat pump, you know that here to pump the heat pump in nothing but whatever the heat is extracted, that heat is to be sent to a region or to a higher temperature zone. That is the primary purpose of a heat pump. And here the terminology, N is nothing but how much heat is received from the sink, or how much it is extracted from the sink, that is denoted by N. And W is the work supply, nothing but the input energy what is taken to the heat pump, work supplied to the heat pump. And H is the output energy, it means how much heat is supplied to the source, that is output one. Okay, so here the heat supplied to source can be taken as the heat received from the sink N, plus the external energy utilized to run the pump, that is a heat pump. So N plus W, that is the total heat supplied to the source, N plus W. Next, so efficiency can be taken as, that is output by input. So output can be taken as how much energy is effectively sought. It means how much heat we are supplying with the help of heat pump, how much exact heat is supplied to the high temperature region or to a source which is maintaining temperature T1. That is the output you have to consider. And energy input is nothing but already told that work supplied to the heat pump, that is can be taken as W. So now the efficiency can be written as it is equal to H, which is nothing but heat supplied, total heat supplied to the high temperature region, H, by W is the work supplied to the heat pump, H by W. Right. So other terminology here, instead of using the efficiency, the term we can call it as a coefficient of performance, COP. Okay, to differentiate engine, heat engine, I think you know that heat engine, it is completely vice versa of that. Heat engine and pump. In heat engine generally are using the terminology as efficiency to determine the efficiency of engine. Similarly, to determine the same thing in other terminology, we are using the word as COP. The same terminology we are using for a refrigerator also. Okay, so COP can be written as heat pumped. Heat is pumping to the source T1 to the work to compressor. Heat pump, nothing but how much to here it is doing the compression work. You have to supply the external energy to that. How much work is supplied to the compressor. So here you can see that that output, the energy sought at outside here at the source is H by W. W is the work supplied to the compressor. So H by, so W is nothing but you can write it as the output minus whatever the first initial heat you are taking from the sink, H minus N. H by H minus N, that is the heat pump. Similarly, you can explain the same with the same diagram. You can explain for the refrigerator also, right? So take the same diagram. Again the source with the temperature T1 and the sink the temperature with T2, and work is supplied to the refrigerator. Here there's a refrigerator at the center, and the same terminology N and H. See here. So the refrigerator work is removes the heat from the low temperature region. It means the sink, it will become like a cool chamber. So from the cool chamber, so whatever the chamber you are getting at, you have to extract the heat from that, and that chamber has to get heated. It has to get cool. So the load in the low temperature region, it removes the heat, and it rejects the heat to the source with the help of the refrigerator. And here the work is supplied to the refrigerator. And you can see the terminology. Just N here is, that is a heat removed or heat abstracted from the low temperature region. This sink is a low temperature region, and from that more the heat we have to abstract from that, or you have to remove the heat from that, then we can maintain low temperatures here. W is the work supply to the refrigerator, and heat is the H is the heat rejected to the surroundings, or we are rejecting instead of just like heat pump, we are pumping the heat to the room, to a room which has to get heat. Similarly, here the heat rejected, we can pump it outside to the surroundings. Here here the output is the room which has to be get cooled here at the sink part. How much heat you are abstracting out or removing. This is our output. Input is the work supply to the refrigerator. So here the H is nothing but it is equal to N plus W, work supply to refrigerator plus how much heat removing out from the sink, N plus W, H equal to. So now again the primary purpose is we are extracting the heat from the sink or from the low temperature region. We are removing the heat, then lesser temperatures can be maintained in the sink. So COP again, just like efficiency, again the energy effectively sought by energy input, output by input. So here the output is how much the refrigerating effect or the cooling effect you are maintaining in the sink, that is N, and input you are giving is a work supply to the refrigerator. So energy effectively sought is equal to nothing but output, heat removed or abstracted from low temperature region, that is the sink. Input is the work supplied. So finally you can write that as heat abstracted by work supplied. So you can write this as N by W. N is the net refrigeration effect, and W is the work supplied to the refrigerator. So where the W can be written as the total heat which is rejecting out to the atmosphere, that is a capital H, minus how much heat you are abstracting from the sink, H minus N. It can be written as it is nothing but the difference between this H and N can be taken as work supplied to the refrigerator. So N by H minus N. The same the COP, right? So this is regarding the difference between the heat pump and the refrigerator. In the heat pump, we are pumping the heat to the room, nothing but at the to the source where the room get heated. Whereas the refrigerator, we are using the sink portion, the lesser temperature region, and more the heat is abstracted from that or removed from that, maintaining very low temperatures in the sink part. That is the refrigerator. Next, we will see other terms like refrigerating effect, nothing but we can call it as a cooling effect also. So it is produced by a refrigerating machine. Already discussed this terminology in the first video lesson. Refrigerating machine, so in a given time, is known as refrigerating effect. So how much cooling effect it is producing by that particular refrigerating machine, but in a condition is in a given time, is known as refrigerating effect. In other words, how much amount of heat we are removed from the lower temperature region, just like from the sink. How much amount of heat is removed from the lower temperature region, and it can also be called as refrigerating effect or cooling effect. Next, detailedly we will see the definition of the COP, coefficient of performance. It is ratio of refrigerating effect produced by a refrigerating machine. It means how much cooling effect is produced by a refrigerating machine in a given time. It means it is a output to the work supplied during the same time. That is the work supplied to that particular refrigerating machine. So during the same time, within the same time, how much cooling effect it is producing and how much the work is supplied. So output to the input, so it determines the COP. So it is also called as energy ratio. COP equal to N by W, net refrigeration effect. So can give in units as kilojoules per minute, and W is the work supplied to the refrigerating machine in kilojoules per minute. So here different terminology in terms of COP, like theoretical COP is there, actual COP is there, and relative COP is there. First we will see the theoretical COP. Just by using some thermodynamic laws, by the application of thermodynamic laws, the theoretical values of N and W, means output and input. So by the application of laws of thermodynamics, we can determine we can find out the COP. So the way which you are finding out by using these laws of thermodynamics, so that can be termed as a theoretical COP. Okay. And actual COP means um, while doing some practical way, like when you are doing some test, during the test, when the refrigerator is working, conducting the practical test on that, and in that we are finding out how much cooling effect you are getting, that is N, and how much work is supplied to a compressor, that is a W. So practically we are finding out. By considering these two cases, we can find out the COP. So in this case, we are calling it as a actual COP. And relative COP means it is the giving relation between the theoretical COP and the actual COP. So when you are taking the ratio between actual COP, it means under practical condition what is the COP of that particular machine, to the theoretical COP. Okay, theoretical COP. So getting the relation or the ratio between these two COPs is known as relative COP. Right, we'll see the COP of heat pump and refrigerator here. So already we have seen this formula. It is a H output, how much energy effectively sought by energy input. So H, where it can be written as N plus W, heat abstracting from the sink is work supplied to the heat pump. So N plus W by W, where it can be written as 1 plus N by W. If you observe it clearly, for a COP of refrigerator, we are written it as N by W. So how it can be written is, but again here written N by W equal to COP of refrigerator, where the COP of heat pump can be written as it is equal to 1 plus, so N by W is the COP of refrigerator, so 1 plus COP of refrigerator. So we can conclude from that heat pump COP is always greater than 1. It is very important, note that COP of heat pump is greater than 1, whereas COP of refrigerator is less than 1. Almost is less than 1, sometimes it may be greater than 1. Compared to that refrigerator, heat pump COP is always greater than 1. Next, we'll see the unit of refrigeration. So in the field of refrigeration, we are measuring, generally the heat transfer is taking place in the refrigerator. So that you are measuring in terms of, due to the heat transfer, heat is rejecting and heat is adding, like that. So the cooling effect you are getting. So a unit of refrigeration is the ton of refrigeration. Generally, you are terming it as ton of refrigeration, and here it is given in terms of 1 TR. 1 TR, like 1 TR in the sense 1 ton of refrigeration. So let us explain it clearly. What is 1 ton of, or a ton of refrigeration? Here, try to remember, ton is not a unit of mass here. Okay, it's a unit of refrigeration in this particular thing. We'll see the definition of ton of refrigeration. See how it determines. The definition goes like this: amount of refrigeration effect produced by, it means how much cooling effect is produced by uniformly melting of 1 ton of ice from at 0 degree centigrade in 24 hours. Okay, so if you are considering 1 ton of ice, it is uniformly melting, where it's starting from at a 0 degree centigrade. So considering a particular time of 24 hours. Okay, so how much cooling effect it is producing out during this condition? So that it is defining the ton of refrigeration. Generally it is determined as TR. So you can see here the latent, will see the ton of refrigeration in mathematical form. You know that latent heat of fusion of ice is 336 kilojoules per kg. That means changing of its phase. The fusion of ice means converting from solid to the solid state of ice to liquid form during its phase change. So the heat produced, it is a 336 kilojoules per kg. So here, how much heat is required for melting of 1 ton of ice in 24 hours? That can take it as a 336 into 1000 kilojoules. Okay, for 1 ton of ice, it is 336 into 1000 kgs for 1 ton of ice. Similarly, the refrigerating effect in 24 hours. So it is the product of these 336 into 1000 kgs, kilojoules. Now, the 1 ton of refrigeration, you can write this as per hour. For you're taking, that is for 24 hours. If you do by 24 hours, it means you are getting the value per hour, kilojoules per hour. So do the same thing, you'll get 14,000 kilojoules per hour. Similarly, if you want kilojoules per minute, you do by 60. So here is approximately taken as 12,600 kilojoules per hour. Same value you write here. Why this is writing as 1 ton? Here it is not considered as 1000 kgs, just like some 900 kgs. Approximately uh, 1 metric ton is equal to 1000 kgs, but 1 ton of refrigeration, but US ton is considered, it can be considered 900 kgs. So what happens to this value? Instead of 14,000, it can be, for example, here 336 into 900 by 24, the value will change to 12,600. So by 60, so it is, the value is 233.33 kilojoules per minute. So it is if it is standardized, it can be written as 210 kilojoules per minute. We are adapting this value 210 kilojoules per minute. Why? Because some losses will be there. The complete the 1000 kgs of ice will not be produced. Due to that, we are considering it as 210 kilojoules per minute. 1 ton of refrigeration is, it is equal to 210. Consider to convert that kilojoules per minute to kilojoules per second. 210 by 60, 3.5 kilojoules per second. So joules per second is nothing but watt. So it can be written as 3.5 kilowatts. So the same thing here written. So 1 ton machine, 1 tonnage of refrigeration machine, a refrigerating machine having capacity of producing cooling effect of 210 kilojoules per minute or 3.5 kilowatts or kilojoules per second is rated as 1 ton machine. Okay, right. We'll say a simple problem. Find the COP of a refrigerating system if the work input is 250 kilojoules per minute. Refrigerating effect produced is 400 kilojoules per kg. So what is here? The output is refrigerating effect, input is work input, 250 kilojoules per kg. Very simple to find the COP. You know the formula, N by W. Refrigerating effect is 400, work input is 250. The final answer is COP equal to 1.6. Next we will see the other one. The cooling rate of 1 ton machine equal to 3.5 kilojoules per second. Cooling rate of 15 tons machine is, if you multiply into 15, you will get for 15 ton machine cooling rate, that is 52.5 kilojoules per second. It's very simple. Convert 1 ton, how much 15 ton refrigeration will be. So here you can see the quiz. 1 ton of refrigeration is equal to, the answer is, all the units are in so here kilojoules per second and 3.5 kilojoules per minute. You know that 3.5 kilojoules per second is the answer. Single second one, a refrigerant machine having capacity of cooling effect of 7 kilojoules per second is rated as, means 3.5 kilojoules per second is 1 ton machine, it means it is a double. So what is the answer? It is a 2 ton machine. So this is a heat absorbed during change of its state from liquid to vapor. What is that? Changing from liquid to vapor. That is the vaporization process or latent heat of vaporization. The ratio of refrigerating effect produced to work supplied is known as COP of refrigerating machine. Okay, so these are the few frequently asked questions. Okay, so this is a summary what you have learned: steam jet refrigeration, liquid nitrogen refrigeration, applications of refrigeration, and some problems are solved, and seeing the ton of refrigeration, coefficient of refrigeration, right? A few more questions are there. So, and the boiling temperature of water depends on the, so what we are seeing, that is depends on the pressure. Steam jet refrigeration, pressure on the surface of water Class number is reduced by, that is steam jet. Liquid gas used for refrigeration should be non-toxic. Okay. And a few more questions regarding the applications of refrigeration. Describe briefly steam jet and liquid nitrogen. Thank you.